Outside of the Echo Chamber, the official I Dream of Indie Games podcast is brought to you by you, the gamer. If you'd like to join our mission to support indie visibility, head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. Well, greetings, Indie Warriors. Welcome back to another episode of Outside of the Echo Chamber. I'm Old Gamer Joe, joined today with Silent Signs, and Ted is here once again. Our mission, as always, is to celebrate the indie gaming scene, shining a light on its talented developers and publishers. We've got daily reviews, first impressions, top 10 lists, biggest sales going on, news, so much more, and of course, most importantly, this podcast outside of the Echo Chamber. Why is it most important? Because you're listening to it right now, and you can do that actually 3 days early over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames, where you'll also gain Discord access, early ad-free shows like upcoming indies, and we have a little bit of a, what would you call it, Silent Signs? A little bit of a goal going on right now.
A stretch goal?
Stretch goal. That's the word I was looking for.
Hi, I'm here too.
I don't know. It's early in the morning. The word wasn't coming to me. We have a stretch goal going on right now over on the Patreon, which is going to maybe, just maybe, transform this show into a video format. More work for me, but hey, if you all have a demand for it, we'll certainly make it happen. I think our goal is $400, so we're over halfway there.
You wouldn't want to see the video today. I literally rolled out of bed for this, so.
This is true. Of course, everyone else can enjoy the show every Thursday over on the YouTube channel. It's on Spotify as well, and YouTube Music. That's the other one. All right, on today's episode, we have all the latest indie gaming news stories that caught our attention. We're going to discuss what's happening in our personal lives and on the channel, preview what's coming up this week, and of course, our topic of the day. It's all about boundaries between gaming content creators, or content creators in general. What healthy boundaries should exist in digital relationships? From receiving strange comments from randos online to real-life healthy friendships that have been created. It should be an interesting topic of discussion, I say. And Silent Signs is dancing over there for some reason.
I'm waking myself up. You're much better at the intro than me, I might add.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I struggled last week.
All right, if you hear my dog snoring in the background, it's because he's literally right under my feet, and he is a very heavy sleeper.
And he will not move.
No, he will not move. Why does this dog just love to stand directly in your path?
He loves you.
I get that, but could you make it a little more convenient? You know, I love the dog too.
In a past life, he was a roadblock.
If I stepped backwards even slightly, I would just trip over him. All right, I thought we'd do something a little different this week, Silent Signs. How about an icebreaker question? You've never actually spoken directly with Ted, I don't believe, right?
Until this morning.
Until now.
Afternoon for him.
Yep. And so we're in an interesting space here. Ashton's starting the podcast in July. I've never spoken to her directly. You've never spoken to Ted directly. Eventually, we'll all get on the same page and be on a single podcast, maybe. But for now, a little bit of a lighthearted question to open things up. And I thought it would be fun to know if you needed to replace your hands with something else, your very hands that you work with, what would you choose to turn those hands into? And I'll start with Ted.
I mean, it's I feel like it's cheating, but I guess like a multi-tool. Is that a boring answer? Or do you ever see Star Trek? They have the replicators. They can print any kind of food or drink they want. You could have 2 replicators on your hands.
That's a way more intelligent answer than I was going to have. So now I feel like
God, what was do I want to know what your answer is?
I kind of just wanted pizza hands, so I would constantly just be eating pizza and
Will it regrow?
Yeah, the pizza just keeps regenerating.
Oh, I hate that.
It's like a mutant power.
Oh wow. I didn't think about special powers like that though.
Yeah.
Did either of you ever play Edward 40 hands, where you strap 2 40s to your hands? And do you know what a 40 ounce is, Ted? Over in the UK,
no,
is that something different?
I do not, I'm afraid.
That's okay. Civilized people don't hear either. Just kidding.
So basically, it's a massive bottle of beer here in the United States. We call it a 40 ounce. Do you have a name for that over there?
No, I don't think so. I you just mean literally. Do you mean a plastic bottle of a beer, or do you mean like just like one regular glass bottle of beer?
No, it's literally a giant plastic, or not plastic,
very
glass.
large
Like you would get
glass bottle
like you
of
would get
beer.
like Coke in or something, except it's got beer in it.
Yeah, it's got beer in it.
It's more like if you took a regular beer bottle and then you grew it by like, I don't know. I can't do math, but
You
like
basically fed it steroids.
4 times the size of
Okay,
a normal beer bottle.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I've never seen that before in my life, but
You might want to Google the image just to get an idea of what we're talking
It
about.
just looks like a
40.
large beer
if
bottle.
I type in
It's-
just 40 ounce, wait,
40 ounce beer, I would say. Like 40 ounce beer, it should come up. And then you'll have a good idea of
okay.
what we're working with. So here in the United States, there's this game that exists. It's pretty popular in colleges, I would guess, where people will sometimes strap 2 of those to their hands. And the goal of the game is to try to finish both of the beers before you have to go to the bathroom. Now, if you pee your pants, you lose the game.
Yeah.
So we call that Edward 40 Hands, which is a tribute to Edward Scissorhands, the Johnny Depp movie, which you also probably don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know.
I know the movie. I've not seen it though.
Yeah, that was a long-winded way of me saying I would make pizza hands. I wouldn't actually do 40 hands. How about you, Silent Signs?
None of that. None of that. I was thinking, this isn't very practical, but I would just want like some headphones in my hand so I could just like cover my ears and listen to music whenever I
It's
needed
like
to.
one ear cup on each.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
like somebody's
Wow.
saying
Yeah.
something you don't want to hear, you can just
Just be like, hold on.
So is your hand then a speaker?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking
It's
about?
Bluetooth.
Interesting. How do you pick anything up, though? I guess I can't pick anything up with pizza hands either.
You
No.
can't. Actually, that's
I thought
messier.
about
At least
this.
mine
I
aren't
don't-
messy.
Yeah, but the
Yeah, definitely.
multi-tool, you don't have fingers either or anything. You just have a bunch of weird contraptions.
But you could have like maybe like a magnet on there or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Very few things replicate the practicality and like the tactile nature of hands, you know?
True.
So,
You could just go for paws, I guess.
yeah.
I imagine, too, like robotic hands exist, right? For people that do, in fact, lose their hand.
But that's
Like,
cheating,
Yeah.
though. Then you're just
Yeah, I was gonna
replacing
say
hands with
that's
hands.
a cheat answer.
So could I get a robotic hand and just like make this question more of a moot point?
You can, but
It's your question.
yeah.
You tell me.
Hey, why don't we get into what we're playing this week? That was a good icebreaker, huh? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it.
No?
Yeah,
head
I'm
hurts.
smiling.
Believe it or not, I played a couple games that were not related to channel work. A couple demos because my daughter really wanted to try. She's a huge Amanda the Adventurer fan. So they released Amanda the Adventurer 3's demo just a couple days ago, I believe. She just eats these games up. So it's all the rage amongst the kids to play these horror games, you know, the jump scares. They like the animatronics, all that stuff. It's very popular. Markiplier, I blame him for all of these games being so popular in pop culture. But either way, she's big into Amanda the Adventurer. So we tried the demo. I actually like these games, Silent Signs, believe it or not. They are very difficult.
They're quite good.
They're tough puzzle games. Underneath, like, the exterior, maybe, where you think it's just kind of a kid's game, it's really not.
It's not a kid's game at all.
Yeah, it's really not. It's
I would
tough.
say. I would argue. I watched you all play through the first one, I believe, but I actually got my hands on the second one, and I surprised myself with actually quite liking it.
I'm looking at it. This looks truly cursed.
It is.
Yeah, so for those
For
that
sure.
don't know, for whatever reason, basically, it is a series of VHS tapes about this child show. It's kind of like we had Barney over here in the United States, which was a purple dinosaur that was like a kid's show. And
Yeah, it has that kind of like full motion video like element of it where you're like watching the tapes as you earn them and you're learning more about the lore of the games or the show rather, and then you're solving puzzles to get more tapes, and the puzzles are really actually quite challenging.
They are very
Some
challenging.
of them at least.
And I think it's a really cool concept, the fact that you have to rewind the tapes, you have to pause, you have to listen to the clues very carefully that are hidden in there. There's this bigger lore going on, too, that the kids just absolutely eat this stuff up. The demo was pretty good, I have to say. It seems a little bit more user-friendly because if you recall, the opening demo in the second game, Silent Signs, was brutally difficult. This seems to scale it back a little bit, but still a good challenge. I like a good brain bender now
From
and
what
then.
I understand, it's also more a larger world.
Yes, I guess that's kind of what it's alluding to. You only get a sample size, obviously, in the demo. But, I find that with puzzle games in particular, I do better if I have someone next to me. because 2 heads are better than 1 in those cases.
Because then you can put the controller next to me, like in my hands, and say, "Here, you figure it out."
That could happen. Or, people could shout things out and be like, "Oh, you're missing this little detail." Sometimes you can get held up. We've done a ton of reviews here on the channel, obviously. You can get held up. The tiniest of little pixels that you miss, or just this little snag, and you're like, "Oh man, I feel stupid now." That's video games, isn't it?
Sorry, you said pixel hunting. I immediately went to point-and-click adventure games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's a huge problem in those. But they've done a pretty good job over the years making those a bit more accessible. You can highlight items now in point and click adventure games. That wasn't really a thing when I was growing up.
Yeah, they're not quite as obtuse as they used to be.
They have done
sometimes.
They have done some things to alleviate some of the frustrations, but they're still there for sure. The other game I played, because she's also into 1930s style art, 1920s cartoons, she tried a little Cuphead on her own, but together we tried Bendy and the Ink Machine, which
I've heard of
is
this.
sort of a first-person puzzler as well. Definitely has like a 20s, 30s cartoon vibe going on. I've only played a little bit of it, but it seems pretty cool. I like this trend, Silent Signs, of games using that old school cartoon aesthetic. What do you think?
Love it. I think it's so cool. I love anything hand-drawn, though, so I think that really adds something to it.
I was just going to say there's another game that uses like that Steamboat Willie, like the old Disney aesthetic, and it's like an FPS, and I can't remember what the friggin' name was.
The new one that's coming?
Yeah, that's we were just talking about that game. What
Mouse
the heck?
something
Why can't I think of the name of it? PI something, right?
Mouse
PI? Is that
something
what it's
like that.
I'm sorry, I feel like I've just thrown a wrench.
No, we know exactly what you're talking about, but we're all escaping.
It's just called Mouse PI for hire.
There we go.
You would
Mouse
think with a
PI
name
for
that
hire.
simple, it would. If you type
That's the problem.
one of those words,
it's simple.
yeah. If you put one of the words like in the wrong order, it just won't come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game's kind of been in development for a long time. It looks really cool, though. Even though I'm not usually Mr. FPS, Silent Signs is definitely not into the FPS.
I am not Mrs. FPS.
Not an FPS fan. That's fair enough.
It makes me ill, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you enjoy them, right? It's just you get physically ill playing them. So that's well documented on the channel if you've ever seen her try to review a first-person shooter before.
Or not even just a shooter, a first-person puzzle game, first-person horror.
Oh, really? Just first person in general, just not do well for you.
Yeah, I did okay with Tainted Grail recently, but that game gives you the option to switch between perspectives, so you can switch between first and third person. So whenever I started getting a little queasy, I could just switch.
I saw you review Road 96. That's
Yes.
first person, right? What was that like? Because I think that's better because it's just an exploration game, so you don't have to like look around constantly. Or
I just have to do it in short bursts is really what it comes down to. I've done a few on the channel in the past, and I just have to kind of be like, okay, I need a minute every 15 minutes.
Anyways, a little bit of a side story there. The other game that I tried, well, 2 other games actually. You'll be able to chime in on one of these Silent Signs. You could tell I was spending time with my daughter this weekend. Cats Hidden Around the World. She's obsessed with cats. And this is kind of like a Where's Waldo?
Where was I for all of this?
I think you were at work while we were doing this. Most likely. That's usually where you are.
oh, I've heard of this as well.
There is a bunch of these games. There's Cats Hidden in China. They're doing Cats Hidden in North America
cats everywhere.
at some point, which she's pretty excited about. And basically, it's just a huge image. You can zoom out, you can zoom in, and cats are hidden across a very tricky...
Like Where's Waldo, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Where's Waldo book, pretty much. And you have to click them
Spy.
all. I think there's 90 of them you have to find per level. And they are well hidden, but we didn't realize until about maybe 10 to 15 minutes of doing this that you can zoom the screen in to find the cats.
Oh,
in a
no.
much easier
You were
manner.
just looking at it from the most zoomed out view.
Yes, exactly. I have a pretty big TV, but it was so zoomed out. And then she did something with the mouse. I'm like, oh, you could do this the whole time? We did find all the cats, though. I really like this series, actually. It's kind of relaxing. It has this looping music that's really chill, and you just kind of lose yourself in trying to find all of these little cats. They're hidden in hilarious ways.
Honestly, that sounds nice.
It was really nice. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm going to check out some more in that series. Barely Magic Mike owns them all, I think, so he'd probably be able to chime in more if he's listening to this. But outside of that, this embargo is up. Silent Signs, I want to say. Yeah, it should be good.
You tell me.
Yeah, it is up. It is up. Outrider Mako is the game we've been playing. And I've been talking for a while, so I'll let you describe it. I'm going to have a full review up on the channel probably live right now for everybody.
Yeah, this is an interesting game, huh? I haven't quite formulated an opinion on whether I like or dislike it yet, but I suppose that's your job. It's a little pixel art game where you're playing as this little human in this weird realm of gods and mythical creatures, I think.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
More or less. So the whole game kind of relies on this red nectar, and you use this red nectar to kind of like slime enemies to slow them down, or to like soften up minerals to harvest them and things like that. But it's a really unique combat system that is kind of supporting the greater goal of delivering packages to these gods,
right? Yeah,
demigods, whatever they are.
Not so much like a Kiki's delivery service where you're on a broom flying around with packages. It's more like a traditional
on foot,
top down, like 16-bit ish almost.
You're running around, you're killing little beasties, and then you're delivering packages, and then sometimes the recipient of the packages wants to fight you.
That ever happened to you in real life? Just saying. You ever UPS guy ever want to fight you? Or?
As an insurance agent, when I deliver news to people, sometimes they probably want to fight me. But yeah, it's strange. And like strange in a good way and strange in a bad way. So that's why I'm a little bit torn.
Yeah, I feel similar to you right now, actually. I really like a lot of aspects of this game. You know, that 16-bit visual style, it calls back, really reminds me of Pocky and Rocky back in the day, if you ever played that game.
Yeah, I could see that.
But it doesn't play like a top-down shooter of any kind, really. It plays almost like a Link to the Past to a degree.
But more run-based?
But it's more run-based, right? It has almost had like a roguelike feel without all the punishment attached to it, which I like that aspect of the game. But the combat itself, it doesn't always jive with me 100%. Like, I feel like the slime disappears at times, and that's really frustrating.
So far, a little inconsistent.
And sometimes I just want to be all old school about it and just whack an enemy and be done with it. And I feel like the game maybe would have been better for that, unless like they could have incorporated the slime mechanic in a different, more interesting way. It's a lot about momentum, too, bouncing from one target to the next.
And spreading your slime, like if you hit an enemy that you've... I keep saying slime, but it's nectared. If you hit an enemy that you've covered in nectar, it's supposed to spread the nectar to all the nearby enemies and like kind of create
and that doesn't always work out. Like
No.
I think the developers intended it to. So I'm kind of with you here. It's like there's a lot to like about this game and there's a lot to not like about it, but we'll see how it all shakes out. Full review should be done. I haven't written it at the time of this podcast.
I will say though, I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, it is really
Every
good.
song on that game is really good.
Yes, so that's Outrider Mako. You can look forward to that full review. Silent Signs, you've also been working on Crown Gambit a little bit.
I have.
Really fun looking, stylish card game. We're going to have a sponsored video up on the 25th, I want to say.
It is very stylish. Card combat, which you either love or you hate.
Almost reminded me a little bit of Magic the Gathering, the way it plays out. How like the enemies have hit points and you got to kind of strategically slash at them.
This one's super narrative heavy with a lot of like dialogue choices as well. So there's definitely more of a story element to it than most card games that I've played of the past. So far, I'm actually surprising myself and quite liking it. I can really go either way with card-based combat. It's not like my favorite genre, so when I find one, it has to really do something different to kind of set itself apart from the other ones that I've had to kind of slog my way through on the channel. So some games that have done that really effectively, obviously, like Inscription.
Oh, yeah. Great game.
And more recently, weirdly, a little bit different of a combat style, but Battle Train that I played here on the channel.
You ended up enjoying that one quite a bit,
I really
too.
liked that game.
Are you slowly becoming a deck builder, girly?
I'm afraid that I am. And that concerns me. But I have liked a few that we've played here.
Yeah, what I thought was cool watching you play this game was like the stylish cutscenes and the way they're integrated into the game. And, the gameplay itself didn't seem overly complicated. Am I right in thinking that?
No, not too complicated. Pretty basic if you've played any sort of turn-based combat, even just like an RPG. You can move, you can attack, you can use a special ability.
Very cool. I look forward to seeing your full video of that.
Did you ever play Cobalt Core? Because that's a very...
Cobalt Core. I have not played it myself.
That is quite a lightweight, really charming deck builder that
I have
has.
not.
Yeah, I would recommend it. It's quite a chill deck builder, and not
sounds
too
nice.
hard either.
Okay,
I like the
get
ones that
behind
are more accessible, where you don't have to think too much and they throw 1,000 rules at you.
It either needs to be pretty accessible or it just needs a good tutorial.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Because if it's a tutorial, that's just like, here's 5 pages of text. Read this and then play the game. I can't.
yeah, I mean, if you so the cards in Cobalt Core pretty much almost never have text on them either. It's mostly just symbols and numbers, and
love that.
so they're pretty simple even. But it's like a spaceship battling, but like so you can kind of control your spaceship with cards. And the cool thing is you have your cards represent like really charming crew members that you bring along with you. It's cool. I don't want to go into because I'll ramble trying to explain it, and then it'll just be boring. But yeah, take a look at it because it's really charming.
Oh, that sounds really nice.
Long story short, just try Cobalt Core. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a lot of words for a very, very
Read about it
simple
on the Steam
recommendation.
page.
Yeah.
Ted, what have you been playing?
I'm not gonna lie, I've been playing too few indie games this last couple of weeks because outside of playing Vessels of Decay for my review and a couple of horror games,
we should discuss that a bit too.
Yeah, and I played a couple of horror games for a video that I was doing, but not like because I'd already beaten all 3 of the games, so it's kind of like I was just going back to get some footage. But I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of boring because I didn't play really many indie games outside of that. But I have a terrible habit of playing an ancient real-time strategy game called StarCraft 2.
Oh gosh, wow! That goes back
which
a
is
bit.
not far from an indie game, but yeah, I keep going through bouts of getting lost in the source with Did you guys, either of you ever play? Have you ever gotten lost in a competitive multiplayer game before, or is that just far from your thing? I mean, I'm guessing not because you play a lot of indie games.
You're dead on. It's way out of my comfort zone. I don't play a lot of those games. I'm actually not a real-time strategy player much in general. Silent Signs, I don't know if you play more, but
I think in general, we've never done a lot of like online either.
Yeah. I mean,
not too much, especially for a channel like this.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I try not to play too many competitive games, and for ages I avoided it. But it's occasionally I kind of get lost in the source. But I am the reason I don't like playing it is because if it's something you enjoy, usually it sucks you in and it takes up basically all of your game time. It's like, okay, well, I'll sit down and play some games, and I could literally I could play like 3 hours of an indie game and have a really great time, or hear me out. What about I play an hour of StarCraft 2 and get very angry losing, you know?
And then that 1 hour turns into multiple hours.
But you know, on the topic of getting angry, you did review Vessels of Decay. On the channel, which received the dreaded indie Krampus, our first Krampus in like 7 months. We had a good streak going there.
I'm so sorry it had to be you.
Non-terrible games on the channel.
One of us has to break the cycle.
So what exactly went wrong with this game? Not many user reviews out there. Nobody else is really talking about this title. Kind of seems to have just launched. Even the launch went wrong, I believe. They did not get it up on time. This seems to be a mess.
Release date suddenly changed to December, and then it released anyway. I don't know. It was so weird. It wouldn't have been. I probably would have cut it a bit more of a break if it hadn't been so buggy. I mean, the game crashed on me. Like, I got stuck in the environment and it just hard crashed my game. And no matter how many times I restarted it, there was no going back. I had to restart the game. But thankfully, I was only 30 minutes in. But basically, it seems like a passion project that needed like another 2 years of development. And also, my issue with it was like I'm struggling to formulate my thoughts here in like a concise manner, but basically they seem to have like a lot of ideas. I'm trying not to sound really mean, but like a lot of the ideas just were not very fun. And the cool ideas they did have, they just left them out of the opening section of the game.
So I guess for people like who are just listening for the first time, what is this game exactly?
So it's an action adventure game. So if you've ever played like more of the old school Zelda games, or like more recently something like it's not really a direct comparison, but something like Tunic, you know, you're going from Tunic is a bit of a worse example actually, like Hyper Light Drifter, stuff like that. Like you're walking around exploring an area, you do some puzzles, you fight some enemies in hack and slash combat, and maybe there's some RPG elements like skills and stuff like that, but you know, that it depends on the game. This game has hack and slash combat and puzzles and a story, and you go from in a more of a linear structure. You're not doing like an exploration of an area and kind of doing loop arounds and unlocking new doors and stuff like that. The story is just basically non-existent. I mean, it's just poorly paced. Basically, it's an action adventure game that doesn't have a lot of action and doesn't really have a lot of adventure.
That's kind of important in an action adventure game.
Yeah. Those are some key components there.
Yeah, even just putting that review together, that looked rough. That game does not seem in a good state. And whenever we do a negative review, like it wasn't even super negative. My review recently of Chronicles of the Wolf, which is not, in my opinion, not a particularly great throwback Metroidvania, classicvania, as a lot of people are throwing around out there. But you get a lot of defenders, but I'm not even really seeing that on this game. So I don't know if people just don't know it exists.
There's definitely been defenders on that video.
On that one.
Not on Vessels of Decay.
Right,
no.
right. Yeah, no, tons of people are defending Chronicles of the Wolf. They'll defend Metroidvanias. And that's totally cool. I'm very happy to have you disagree with me. But in this case, I don't really hear much buzz about this game at all, Vessels of Decay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it kind of just passed by, because they put a lot of time and effort into it. It just seems like a game that maybe their ambition got ahead of them. They could have benefited from making something smaller, maybe.
Oh, I'm very sorry. My dog just farted. The smell is awful.
That's great.
I have to put my nose under my shirt.
I don't want to be in this office anymore.
It's hot as well. It's just
it is miserable right now between that fart and the rain and the heat. This is not good. Let's go into some news. Science. That is heinous. You remember Toem? Either of you ever played Toem?
I have not.
Toem.
I have not played
Hardly
Toem. Let's have a
know
look.
It was kind of this cute little game where you,
I think
black
Mike
and white,
told
you
me
took
about this.
photos.
Yeah,
Mike was
I
talking about it recently.
Yes.
Toem 2 is coming out soon. Well, it looks like it's coming to mobile platforms. Are either of you... I know, Silent Signs, you don't play games on your phone much, but Ted, do you ever mess around with mobile games at all?
I don't. I lost all faith in mobile games a long time ago. I used to when I was like when they were like first coming around, and you still had like the occasional game that was just like a fun game. But no, I don't usually. Usually, I find that the only good games on mobile are games that already existed on Steam and then got ported.
Yeah,
But,
I agree with that. The only mobile games I've ever played and enjoyed are the Odin Cat games, which also exist elsewhere.
Right,
usually.
They existed on mobile first, right?
They did, yeah.
Like Bear's Restaurant, Meg's Monster, was that the other one? Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are good games.
Mouse Busters.
Tend to just carry a book with me if I go outside. So, like the only time I would play a mobile game, I would probably just read a book instead. Like
I should be more like Ted here and start carrying books with me because I'm terrible about reading, and I really need to. I bought a Stephen King book like 3 months ago and haven't even got past the second page.
Which one?
What is it? The Fable. What the heck's it called?
Fairy Tale?
Fairy Tale. Thank you. Fairy Tale.
My dad's read that book.
See, that's how bad I am. I can't remember the name of the book I bought.
I've not read it, but my dad read it and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I was very much looking forward to reading it, and then it just sat there for months because I did other things.
You a big Stephen King fan?
I do generally enjoy his stuff, yeah, for the most part. That's why I picked it up. It's been many years since I read one. In fact, my daughter started reading It, which was like, if you've never seen the book it's just massive. This was like the cocaine-fueled era of Stephen King, where he was just writing pages and pages.
That was much of Stephen King's career, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm going on a tangent here, but I love It. I'm a big fan of it. But I've never actually read through the entire book because it's so, like, it just looks intense to read that many pages.
I mean, have you seen The Stand? That's another one of his books, which is like 1,000 pages or something like that.
Hefty.
Yeah. He seems to have toned it down a little bit since getting off the cocaine and stuff, though. So
one of my teachers in high school was friends with Stephen King.
Really?
Yeah.
He's local to us somewhat,
Pretty
right?
local.
Yeah. Isn't he like a Boston native?
I don't know if it's Boston, but he's definitely New England, within driving distance.
Yeah. I know he's always at Red Sox games. That's why I've seen him in the audience multiple times. But,
I could look it up, but I won't.
Yeah, anyways, we were talking about Toem. I don't know how we got to Stephen King. Either way.
You know,
It's my fault. I dragged you off course.
No. All of the great like horror sci-fi is set in New England, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, think about it. We got Stephen King.
It's pretty spooky out here, Ted, if you didn't know. It's very woodsy.
Love him or hate him, Lovecraft, all of his stuff set in New England.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
We have Salem not too far
Yeah,
from us.
we do.
Which is the spookiest town, supposedly. Really a tourist trap now, but still fun. All right. We're already talking about spooky season. It's not even close to October yet. We're not even through summer. Toem, though. That's what this was originally about. This story comes from Games
So
Press.
sorry.
No, you're good.
Wow. How?
We love tangents on a podcast.
Oh, he's Maine. Stephen King's Maine.
Maine. Okay, makes sense. Swedish publisher Snapbreak Games, in close collaboration with fellow Swedish indie studio Something We Made, is excited to bring the BAFTA award-winning Toem, a photo adventure to mobile. Starting today, players can jump into the delightful world of Toem via early access on Android, and iOS users can pre-order on the App Store. Follow a small figure through Scandinavian-inspired landscapes, encounter quirky characters, and explore distinct architectural environments. Take photos, listen to calm music, and travel by bus. Climb the highest peak and experience the mysterious phenomenon known as Toem. It was already released on PC, PlayStation, and Switch, so if you are a mobile player out there, you'll have that option. Looks like it will have full touchscreen support as well. All right, on to story number 2. It's all about Look Outside, one of my favorite games this year.
Oh, yeah,
Sounds
mine
I know
too.
you love Look Outside as well. Well, it just got a big 1.5 update, and it's available for free to anyone who owns the game. This adds even more eldritch horrors to the game's deeply cursed apartment building, including a greatly expanded flooded basement area bursting with fresh new terrors to fight and or have terrifying conversations with. Additional residents that will come a-knockin' when you're safely back at home, including a few new twists on familiar encounters, an expanded and improved crafting system with new materials to collect, and the ability to craft powerful healing items to help you survive the night. The 1.5 update also includes a number of gameplay balance tweaks, new and expanded dialogue for certain encounters, new decisions to make, a whole heap of bug fixes, and even more dark secrets to discover in those shadowy hallways. So really awesome that this is a free update. If you've not played Look Outside, what are you doing, folks? It is one of the coolest RPG survival games, I guess you could describe it. But very twisted, very strange, almost a little bit of an Undertale vibe to it as well. Some comedy in there. Really cool game. 20% discount right now, too.
I was just going to say I have not played this game, but I love survival horror games. And is this more of an RPG or more of a survival horror game?
It's kind of a blend
It's
of
honestly
everything, right?
both.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. You can get lost in a lot of different mechanics here. So there's a bit of like sim element almost to it too, where you have to just sit in your apartment at times and play video games to gain stats. That's kind of like the RPG mechanics come into.
It's really cool.
The survival horror aspect is more in your resources. You have a set amount of bullets for your gun. You have certain weapons. I think weapons break, if I remember, and that kind of thing too.
Yeah,
so.
and then it's kind
cool.
of, there's almost like a run-based feel to this one too, where like every day restarts and you're like going out and seeing what you can find within the apartments and how much further you can get before the danger gets too high, right?
That's cool.
It's like a
Is there
fear
still an
level.
ending?
There are
Like
multiple endings,
Multiple
actually.
endings.
There's a ton of endings.
Yeah. I think I saw a very brief bit of gameplay, like just the start, where it's like, oh, look outside. And then if you do,
Yeah.
it's just you're dead. That's the end start
Immediately
again.
Dead.
Yeah, I think you especially, Ted, would be big into this game if you like survival horror titles. So
I do love,
Well
I love
recommended.
survival horror. I may have to check that out then.
Yeah, highly recommend. I personally love really creative risks with horror titles, and this is definitely one of those.
I also feel like survival horror games are not as common. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they're not as common as I wish they were. Like with a heavy emphasis on resource management, like original Resident Evil and stuff like that.
yeah, I think we're starting to see a few more throwbacks in the indie scene to those. Like we had Crow County recently and games like
Yeah,
that.
I did play Crow County, which is quite.
That's the one we
that's a
played
good game.
at PAX Silent Signs. That's Heartworm.
Heartworm?
Heartworm might be one to
Oh,
check
I
out. Ted.
was literally just looking at that. That looks pretty good as well. Was it good? Like, I mean, I'm assuming it was, but
It's actually pretty cool. Yeah, it's sort of a fusion of Fatal Frame and classic Resident Evil because your weapon is your camera. So you have to take photos of entities that are on the screen to defeat them. It was really neat. I look forward to playing more of it.
that is cool. I mean, I know horror, especially like kind of retro horror, had a bit of a renaissance over the last few years, but I feel like so many of them that I look at are a bit more focused on the, like I'm a person that really enjoys the actual mechanics of survival horror and just kind of the whole, I mean, I don't know how much Resident Evil you guys played, but the feeling of like in the original Resident Evil and the remaster, what do you call it? The one that was like in 2002 or something like that. I don't know if you played that one. Anyway, I'm going on a
GameCube one, right?
again.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, so I played all the originals.
So I have more experience with the HT. I never beat the original one, but I have more experience with the remaster. Anyway, I'm getting completely off course. Point is, like, the feeling of when you're in a save room and you hear the music and you're kind of like looking at your supplies and you're like, oh, I need to get to. You look at the map and you're like, I got to get over there now, and you kind of have a mental image in your head of where, like, oh, there could be a Crimson Head there, or I'm pretty sure there's some dogs in that room, and you're trying to like plot your course, and like the feeling of like fighting tooth and nail from point A to point B, and then you like finally reach another save room and you hear the music and you're like, oh my god, thank God. And
Gosh,
you just
I
sit
love
there
a
and
good
like take a breath.
save room. Like, just breathe a sigh of relief when you're in that thing.
I do think
like
you might get some of that from Look Outside.
Yeah, you do.
Because you definitely have to kind of keep your course in mind and remember, like, oh, I remember this deity or whatever is in this room and this creature is lurking over here.
You can also just like sleep in your apartment the whole time.
Yeah,
if you
can literally just sleep and play video games
like,
the whole time.
Pizza delivery guys knock on your door.
Oh, that's right. There's people that come to your room too, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad.
Yeah, it's
that
really
is
wild.
cool. I may have to try this out now. Yeah. But my point was, I just feel like that kind of feeling is a bit few and far between. And that's like my favorite part about those games. And it's a very specific thing that I'm after, but I'm constantly searching for it. So anyway, sorry, I kind of took us on a tangent again.
Not at all.
I love tangents on the podcast.
Yes.
That's what we do around here. All right, one more story. Last one, I believe, for news. Indie JRPG tribute Alzara Radiant Echoes has been all but canceled, and the developer that was making it, Studio Camellia, is shutting down. The unexpected announcement was made this week on Twitter, reading, quote, "We're deeply saddened to announce the closure of Studio Camellia. More details can be found in the update shared with our backers. Thank you for your continued support from the very beginning. Take care." But a much more detailed explanation was shared to Alzara's Kickstarter campaign, which had managed to rack up around $330,000 USD in funding before the game was canceled. The video game industry is currently going through a crisis, reads the update. Many studios have been forced to close due to lack of funding, and over 20,000 workers have lost their jobs. Investors are now operating in a market where taking risk is discouraged, and they can afford to wait before committing to a project in order to reduce risk. Silent Signs, what do you make of this? $330,000 was poured into this project, and it will never see the light of day.
That's deeply depressing. I was just looking up what the game looked like. I hadn't heard of it. It looks quite neat.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, especially in the Kickstarter scene, people are really quick to back indie JRPGs. They love this genre of games. What do you make of this all, Ted? Should the developer have found a way to keep this project alive? Was it just not feasible? What did you get out of the words that were shared here?
I don't know. I mean, the sentence I'm focusing on right now is that the money was used to make a new demo for the game. It seems like they ran a Kickstarter in an effort to make a better demo to show to publishers.
That's a lot of money to make a demo, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's that seems a bit
The wording is odd.
Unless I'm reading this wrong. It says founded in 2022, initially sought and received support from various investors before turning to Kickstarter in 2024. The money was used to make a new demo for the game. Unfortunately, the studio wasn't able to secure a buyer, so it just sounds like they used the money to make it. I might be misreading this. Sorry.
No,
I don't think you are.
It's definitely oddly worded, but I also wonder if that's just an excuse for not being able to refund backers.
Oh, because they're saying, well, the money was spent on this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This could get ugly.
I mean, on one hand, if you were truly backing it to support a demo being created, and that demo was created.
Yeah, but I think you probably went into it saying, well, I want this game to be created.
Well, ideally, you would back sure.
But yeah, I guess read the fine print is the moral of that story. All right, well, that was all for indie gaming news stories that caught my attention anyways. So let's get into our topic of the day. I was kind of hoping Ashton was here for this one, Silent Signs. Unfortunately, she won't be here till July on the podcast because she's big in the streaming scene, but you have streamed a little bit in the past yourself. It's not just about streaming, though, we're talking about. We're talking about digital relationships in general. So, me and the staff here at iDream Indie Games, we receive no shortage of very, sometimes bizarre comments, some great ones, too. Through our 6 years, we've only been threatened once, to my knowledge, right? Like an actual kind of viable threat.
That is crazy. I read that in the podcast notes. That's crazy to me that you guys have actually been threatened.
It was really stupid.
It was pretty silly. So you can give a little context if you want, Silent Sons.
We reviewed a game that was not very good. I don't think we were particularly brutal in our review of it. It was pretty constructive.
No,
from
but
what
we
I
made
recall.
a specific comment about the voice acting.
We did make a comment about the voice acting not really enhancing the game in any way, and actually at times making it a little less polished. And one of the voice actors came to our, not just the video itself, but also to our Instagram and began, which we hardly use.
And email too, I believe.
We're trying to get it like back up and actually get something going.
We'll shout that out again at the end.
Regardless, there's like 130 followers on there. We hardly use it. But he was sending us private messages of like, I don't even remember what he was saying. I could go back and dig them up, but it basically like, how dare you? I was the best part of the game, and
I mean,
just a whole lot of ego.
Anyway, come to find out, it was a very young man who was hired off of Fiverr or something.
For the game, yes. And he gave us an or else threat, pretty much. Like, alluding that he would do something to us. So,
anyway,
we handled it through the publisher. They were really great about it. They actually, what ended up happening here is the publisher then reached out to the voice actor, finding out he was pretty young. And so the voice actor was then made to apologize to his mother?
No, his mother made him apologize to us.
Right, his mother made him apologize publicly.
He was like a teenager.
Oh, crikey.
So it's pretty petty. That's like the worst we've dealt with.
It was really silly.
Definitely we get a lot of strange, creepy comments here or there, but that was probably the actual closest to a threat we've received. However, I know in the streaming world, it's quite a bit different. That's putting yourself out there, isn't it, in a different way? I know we're entertainers doing narration, but it feels like live and real in a streaming setting.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a chance
open people up to saying different things, right? But
go ahead, plus Ted. I was just going to say, I've never done it, but I know streamers, they're getting immediate reactions. That it's not like you can just go over what you said, make sure it's a polished thing, and go, yeah, this is cool, and then you get like a comment on it afterwards, and you're like, well, I already looked at it, I'm happy with it. Do you know what I mean? Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives let's say it's a troll, for example. I know there's a lot of different definitions of what a troll is out there, but they can get that instant reaction, like you said, and try to get under someone's skin.
Whereas I can it's a bit different when, like, if I do a review, like this Vessels of Decay review, and then if I see a comment like that says, "Oh, you're wrong," it's like that's not really trolling, but for example, if I see that, it's not going to bother me because I already went through the whole process of writing the review, making sure I was sure. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can already be comfortable with what you said. So
exactly, yeah.
I think there's a big difference between what we do with writing a review and editing and polishing it, and we're also not sharing much of our lives in the review. I mean, we might show like a small anecdote or something that, but when you're streaming or even when you're filming like blog or vlog type content where you're sharing bits of your life with an audience, that's when things get a little bit blurred, right? Because you're basically inviting an audience into your home in a respect where you're saying, look, this is where I live, this is what I do. They feel like they're really getting to know you versus just learning something about a game that you played. Right. And that's where the line gets much more fuzzy when it comes to like streamers or vloggers or even, I don't know, anything where you're just sharing, like you're inviting an audience into your home. It's creating those sort of like parasocial relationships.
Yeah, and that's kind of the greater topic of today. So I want to know from both of you, what can we do as both creators ourselves, and what can consumers of content do out there to ensure boundaries are kept in, common decency and respect is shown across both ways? Because at the end of the day, we're all human, right? And we deserve decency and respect.
Lies. I'm a ghost.
Ted, I'll let you give some thoughts.
Oh, no, not me first. I don't know. I mean, I think from a creator's perspective, I think just kind of, if you kind of put on a professional, I don't want to say persona, but do you know what I mean? If as long as you're not acting
handle
like
yourself
a troll,
in a professional manner,
you're gonna attract. Hopefully, you're going to attract viewers that are looking for that kind of content and not somebody that's trolling. Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. If you are leaning into a specific style of content that could provoke people, or maybe be
Yeah.
heavy
Not that,
politics or something like that.
Yeah, not that then you would necessarily deserve being trolled, but like more like that's going to decrease the chances of that happening, right? Hopefully, you would hope anyway. And then I guess from a viewer's point, I guess I don't know. It's tough because the easy answer is like just don't say horrible things, don't be a nasty person.
Yeah, it seems.
I guess
It seems easy enough, but yeah, there's still people out there that don't understand common decency. It seems.
Yeah, I actually like spirited debate on our videos, for example. I don't have any issue whatsoever when people disagree. It happens all the time, actually. I think it's great that someone enjoyed something that I had a negative experience with. I actually think that's a good thing, and we can have a discussion around it. But when you start throwing insults and stuff like that at me for no good reason, just because you didn't like my take on a review, then I kind of lose interest in talking to you. And you're kind of showing your colors of who you are. You don't want to have a spirited debate. You would rather just be an asshole, essentially.
I think it's the kind of age-old conundrum on the internet of like being anonymous and anonymity. You know what I mean? Like it empowers people to bring out their worst qualities.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this topic, unfortunately. I don't know what the resolution is because on one hand, there's always going to be kind of a market for that type of content where people are sharing parts of their lives with an audience, creating entertainment out of themselves, which is fair. I understand that. You want that. People love instant gratification, right?
I think so, yeah. But does society do a good enough job of separating people's personal lives from their online lives?
Well, there's only so much you can do of that when your persona is the entertainment, right?
Right, yeah. You are the entertainment. It's a weird place to be, isn't it?
I was just going to say, just quickly, bringing up anonymity again, I feel like probably not the best solution, but a solution. Like, I feel like if people weren't anonymous, then there would be less trolls. But like, that's not something that can be enforced really on the internet.
Anonymity people can be used for bad, right? Like, obviously, people hide behind a blank account and spew all sorts of hatred and disgusting language at folks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But then content creators also can use anonymity and create by defending themselves. Like, look at
from trolls.
Just as an example, like YouTubers that haven't shown their face in the past, like
that can lead to other issues.
That leads to other issues with people like violating their privacy and things like that. But at the same time, I understand the desire to do that, right? Like, I understand not wanting people to know who you are and separating your real life from your creator life.
I think the crazy thing is,
for sure,
when we go in public events and stuff like that, the amount of hate comments or anything is zero, right? As far as when we're at PAX or at a live event.
Of course.
It is a zero. But on the internet, you can get mud slung at you without issue.
Unfortunately.
So it just shows you that, it really is a huge part of it is just you're anonymous and there's no consequences.
Well, I also think it depends who you are, how much hatred and the type of hatred you're getting too. Like, I don't think you get comments like, men shouldn't be playing video games.
No.
You know?
No, I do not. I do not get that one. You have.
Or like...
Yeah, that's...
in the case of women playing video games.
We've had really silly comments of like, I heard a woman talking, so this review is invalid. Like, that's obviously a troll.
That is...
come on.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't think people would... maybe I have my head in the sand. I just kind of hope that people don't act like that.
It is my sincere hope and thought that this person is just a troll, obviously, right? Like,
They would have to be.
You would
Unless
hope
you're really that stupid.
That someone isn't that deep into the trenches of being that kind of creature.
Right. So you have a bit of a different perspective, Silent Sign. So having reviewed for like 6 years on the channel now as a woman, have you noticed an improvement over those years in the way you've been treated? Do you gain respect as time goes on, or are men kind of toxic towards you?
I've seen and heard it all, and it doesn't really, it's not something that like I think about at night. I lie awake and I'm like, oh my God, that one guy told me he won't trust my review because I'm a woman. Like, I don't care. I'm not laying awake at night and thinking about that. It's just very strange. I also work sort of a customer service focused job in my real life. So I'm pretty used to hearing just the absolute craziest thing come out of people's mouths.
Do people really give you,
Yeah, of
people
course.
give you, I don't know, can we swear on this podcast? Do people really give you shit at your job as well, like customer service, because specifically
it
because
does
you're a woman?
happen, not so much in my real life job, but you do get people who are like, well, I need to talk to somebody higher up than you. And then I'll just put my male coworker on the phone and they'll be like, oh, okay.
Or just treat you differently.
And they'll just tell them the same thing.
Kind of like hidden sexism.
When you get that, usually it's just the older folks that are like more traditional and they don't expect that you know what you're talking about. They think you're the receptionist, which fine, whatever. I get it coming from a generational thing. But when we're talking about the channel, that usually tends to be people more in our general age demographic. And it's like, you know better. You know better.
And the weird thing for me has always been, you are an English major. You're a way better writer than I am on the channel. Your reviews are more polished. They come out better than mine. You know,
I mean, half the time I polish your reviews.
Exactly. You do a lot of my editing for me. I'm like, does this make sense, Silent Signs? And
she'll be like, through this and just make it legible.
Like, did I do this right? I ask her stuff all the time. She's really a big part of what we do here. She does so much more than people even realize.
Behind the scenes more than anything.
Behind the scenes. And then, Ashton, too, an incredible talent. She handed her first script over, and it was way more polished than anything I ever write.
Oh my God.
And you were like, I don't even need to edit
When I
this.
first got the first script of Ashton, I was like, I mean, do you want me to really get in there for grammatical nonsense? Because this is perfect the way it is.
We didn't even need to edit her stuff. So really, really proud to have talented women on this staff. That's something that I'm greatly appreciative of, and they do way more than you think. So before you leave those types of comments, I just want you to know that.
I think those people know full well exactly what they're doing.
They're probably
just
trying to get
trolls.
a rise out of you, and then it doesn't
Absolutely.
work, and they usually just don't come back. That's kind of what happens there. But speaking of comments, last week, you and Ashton Silent Signs, the Girl podcast, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed editing that one. Did you have a good chat with Ashton?
Excuse me, I'm not a girl. I'm a ghost.
Okay, we'll call you a ghost. Why are you a ghost?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
It was great. I loved speaking with Ashton.
We
had a great time.
Interesting, someone you'd never spoken to before, or you didn't really know super well.
Well, this is the second week in a row because I have Ted on this podcast.
Exactly.
It's been great, honestly. I love hearing a new perspective.
Yeah, sure. So you had a good time with her. You guys kind of hit it off. More podcasts in the future, starting in July. That's exciting. Ashton's going to be, a lot of you have been asking, she's got a fan club going on in the comments section this week. You'll see in a second. A lot of you have been asking, will she be on the podcast more? And the answer is yes. We have signed her through the next 3 months at least.
Autumn?
Podcast episodes. So hopefully, even beyond that, hopefully. We'll see how things go. As long as she keeps enjoying it, as long as we can make it work out, great. It'll be a 3-person show at least going forward, I think, though. Barely Magic Mike should be back, too, next week. All right, let's get into those comments. You guys talked about portable PCs. What was the main idea?
Just whether or not they're here to stay or they're just a passing
viable,
fad.
Right? It's just kind of a passing fad.
We believe they are here to stay.
Yeah,
I think.
No, I think they are too. Ted, did you want to just jump in on that topic real quick? Kind of give your thoughts?
Yeah. No, I feel like there's no reason why that would go away. I mean, being able to play your Steam library anywhere, like in your bed or on a train, that's pretty great. I mean, anything like that. I don't know. I mean, again, it's not for me. I like it because like I said, I don't really play games when I'm outside of the house. So, but I can see it being used in the foreseeable future. I mean, I had a DS when I was a kid. This similar thing. You guys probably had like Game Boys and stuff like that, right?
I think a key selling point of the more modern handheld things, though, is that you can also use them docked.
Yeah.
I think that's huge because the
Gives you the best of both
versatility
worlds.
is what makes it a selling point, right? Because you can take your Steam Deck and buy a Steam Dock. I love that. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, what's up, Doc?
But, you can put the deck on a dock and then you have a little, console, right? You hook it up to your TV. So,
Absolutely. And, companies have messed with that concept going way back. You remember, I think it was even the Game Boy Advance had some sort of link you could do, and then the PlayStation Portable had that, but it was never good it was with Switch. All right, let's read some of those comments. There was a lot of Ashton love here going on. Silent Signs. First comment was from Ryuzaki Taioi. I'm sorry, I probably said that way wrong. Ashton came from Triple Jump to watch more of Ashton, but also loved the other content as well. Well, that's great to hear. We're glad that you found us through Triple Jump. Unfortunate story, kind of a sad way to find us, but we're glad that you came out the other end and are able to enjoy Ashton's content and all of our content. as well over here at I Dream of Indie Games. Also, Zectafin shows his support there. Great to see more Ashton and Sir Digby. Ashton's on a podcast. I guess we can tell who's the most popular person on this channel now. Okay.
Yeah.
Glad you're enjoying having Ashton's content on the channel. We're enjoying having her so far. Lovely to work with. Zectafin writes in, the Switch came out in 2017 and the Steam Deck came out in 2022, a good 5 years into the Switch's existence. The Switch was so successful that it made everyone realize that there's still a need for handheld gaming, but people want to be able to hook it up to their TV, and being stuck in a handheld is what killed its popularity for a while. The Steam Deck was made in response to the Switch. They had no plans for it before, especially with the failure of Steam PCs, which also makes me think, do you think Steam is crazy enough to try PCs again, like custom-built Steam PCs?
I don't know that there's a point at this juncture.
Yeah, maybe just make a more powerful Steam Deck.
Yeah.
You know, at that point. Any thoughts on that comment, Ted?
No, I mean, I agree with Silent Signs there. I think there's just, I foresee stronger Steam Decks, but probably.
It seems to work pretty well for portables to follow this cycle of being essentially a generation back. So you had the Switch, which was basically an Xbox 360 with a little bit more RAM, and then you have the Switch 2, which is more or less like a PS4 between a PS4 and a PS4 Pro. So maybe the next iteration for these portable handhelds will be the power of a PS5 instead of being the next latest and greatest 6 and stuff like that. So that kind of keeps the cost down a little bit.
Does beg the question, though. So, with like smartphones, for example, like phones got so advanced and we all got burnt out on like the constant influx of notifications and like constantly being on call and all of that. And some people have actually taken a step back from that and gone back to, like, for lack of a better term, dumb phones.
Yeah.
Like, basic phones that talk and text and that's it. Or
part of me misses that, but part of me also doesn't.
Yeah. But I wonder if there will ever come a time where, like, gaming is way too accessible. Like, I could take it all and go. It's this like tiny thing that unfolds to a giant PC just for you. Like, I wonder if we'll reach a point where we like want to take a step back from that.
On that topic, I miss having a console for that reason, because my games were kind of like separated from everything else. It's like I'm gonna sit down, put a game in here, and I had like as well like having physical copies. I was like, those are my games. Though I'm going to play. I said this to me and Joe had a conversation about physical copies, so I don't want to repeat myself too much because from the last podcast. But it's like I miss that. Whereas now it's like, oh, I've finished some work, or I just finished off, doing something on my computer, and then there's Steam just open with hundreds of games in my library, and it's like I can so easily just open up any of them. And it's so easy to close them down. Like, this sounds really lazy, but when I feel like you're on a console, when you're like playing like on a sofa or something, if you want to change the game, with a physical copy, it's like, okay, I'm going to get up and change the discs around and stuff like that. It's like, I'm going to,
no, I know what
you know what I mean?
I actually
crazy.
Sometimes think too, like, I hate that my job is kind of in my pocket all the time.
Once again,
smartphones basically always connected to the internet.
The lines all blur together, right? Like, the more advanced things get, the more all of our work, our play, our utilities are all blurred together.
Yeah, you're right. It's like I can't look at my phone now and not see
like
what is my job.
I need to check my bank account, so I go on my phone and then I get a message that something's on sale that I gotta go buy because I just checked my bank account and I have $5 left. And then, oh, by the way, that Steam game's on sale and I can just go right ahead and download that on my PC for when I get home.
Yeah. Or Amazon, I'm just going to buy this.
And then you're getting a work call, and it's just like, it's all there, right? Like, it's all, there's no separation any longer.
Yeah, someone could even be talking to you, and you could essentially not even hear what they were saying to you because you're so lost in what's going on your phone. It's got like its pros and cons. In my particular situation, the separation from life and work, that line is kind of blurred now. All right, let's get into another comment here. It's from Michael Lockerbie, a frequent commenter and supporter of the podcast and the channel. Thank you, Michael, for always leaving the best of comments. We appreciate it. He said, sisters doing it for themselves on this episode. Listening to this while I'm playing through Date Everything, which was reviewed by Ashton, and The Altars, reviewed by Barely Magic Mike. You can enjoy both of those on the channel right now. Love this podcast series. It's criminal it doesn't have more views, but I shared to try and do my bit. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate that greatly. You know, this is a new podcast. We're still kind of building it up, getting it out there. We hope more and more people enjoy it like you and listen to it. And that's one of the best things you can do to get it out there. Share it with your friends. It spreads like wildfire from there.
We're just trying to keep it real out here.
Yeah.
We're not a persona. We're just
I would also say
some people who love indie games.
the podcast is probably one of the most, if not the most enjoyable things we do, because the rest is just like work, like tedious work in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy doing the podcast. It is here to stay regardless. We're not too picky about numbers or anything like that. A lot of channels live or die by their analytics. We're not really into that scene so much, are we? We just put out content we're really proud of and we enjoy. So thank you, Michael. We appreciate that. This comment comes from Ruby Galaxy, YT. This was nice and relaxing to listen to. I do hope we get more Horizon media in general. So for some context there, Ashton mentioned on the last episode that her favorite series was Horizon, right?
Yeah.
Both the Horizon games. I never got on with the combat with those games, but they're really cool otherwise. I'm not good at trapping stuff. But anyways, I was aware of one of the VAs being in Date Everything that I quite like. Melissa Lenti, a.k.a. Vixen on Twitch. She's such a delight to listen to and watch. I knew that game had a lot of voice talent. I don't know everyone specifically, but there were some big heavy hitters on that list. That game looks fun. Do you want to play it?
Such an absurd concept that I am tempted to give it a go.
And then, the last comment for this week. I hate to be that guy, but it is not expensive to get a PC to run modern games today. Tariffs aside. I guess that could really depend. You said modern games there, and that can, in fact, be pretty expensive.
Also,
if you want to play the latest and greatest.
What's expensive to you
Right.
might be different from what's expensive to someone else.
Right, yeah. So
Yeah,
do you
exactly.
save money building a PC in the long run? I personally think you can, and you probably will, just because games are generally cheaper on PC. But it is an upfront cost that can scare a lot of people off, and a lot of people just can't afford $1,200 to $1,500 off the bat. Now, there are cheaper options. You can get a laptop that will play a lot of great indie games and stuff at like $500 to $700 range price. But at the same time, if you want to play newer games, you're going to have to shell out some money up front for sure. So it really depends. You know, if you want a cheap indie machine, definitely pretty easy to do. Laptops will play pretty much all the indies. But if you want to play the latest and greatest, you said modern right there, right? Yeah. Hellcase. So, I mean, you need a pretty decent graphics card to play modern games.
Yeah, you're not going to play Doom the Dark Ages on a toaster.
All right, coming up this week on the channel, we talked about it a little earlier, the Outrider Mako review should be live for everyone now. We're going to be taking a sponsored look at Grifford Academy, which I forgot to mention earlier. That is an upcoming turn-based RPG meets visual novel. I think we have both an integration and a full sponsored video this week on the channel, so that should be fun. Crown Gambit, you talked about Silent Signs. Your full video is going to be up sometime this week, maybe around the time of this podcast. We'll also have this week's indie release rundown live in public feeds. That should be live just about now for everybody. Patreon members, you always get that early, 3 days early. All right, it's like 2 days early for upcoming indies. This podcast is 3 days early at any tier. So we are trying to hit that stretch goal. If you want to help out, awesome. If you just enjoy our content, we also appreciate you greatly. More reviews I can't talk about. Hidden Indie Gem Friday, my favorite. And that's going to do it for this episode. Who wants to do the silly closing noise?
Not I.
Ted, you got a funny noise you can make?
I really can't. I've got funny faces I can make. I don't have any funny noises, I'm afraid.
Rookie, can you bark? Woof. Woof.
That's not the dog, in case you were wondering.
I guess that counts as a funny noise. No, it doesn't. Here we go. Ah!
Okay.
See ya.
Sounded like a death animation.